Okay, we are live now. Okay, let's go. A ver, let me prepare the music. Muy buenas y bienvenidos al episodio número 112 de Qué rico el mambo, un podcast donde hablamos de juegos de mesa modernos. Yo soy Gaceto y hoy no está Chema. Estoy solo ante el peligro porque tenemos un invitado muy especial, así que a partir de ahora cambiaré al inglés porque nuestro invitado es americano. Espero que nos disculpáis, pero bueno, no tenemos traductor simultáneo. Así que nada, vamos al lío con nuestro invitado. Okay, for millions of board games around the world, Tom Basel needs little introduction. As the founder of the Dice Tower, he has spent more than 2 decades helping shape the hobby through reviews, coverage, interviews, conventions, and countless hours of content. What began as a personal passion project has grown into one of the most influential media platforms in tabletop gaming. Known for his honesty, irony, and unmistakable voice, Tom has witnessed the modern board game boom from a front row seat. He has reviewed thousands of games, interviewed many of the industry-leading designers and publishers, and helped introduce new generations of players to the hobby. Along the way, he has become one of the board gaming most recognizable and respected figures. Today, we are delighted to welcome Tom Basel to discuss his journey, the evolution of the Dice Tower, the changes he has seen in the industry, and his thought on where the tabletop gaming is heading next. Mr. Tom Basel, how do you feel this morning?
Good morning. I'm good. Thank you for the nice introduction.
You're welcome. Before all, did you watch the Football World Cup? We're still hangover with the celebrations here in Spain. Did you watch a little bit, or you don't care about football at all?
Well, I care a little bit. I just fell asleep last night, so I don't actually know what happened.
Well, a crazy party all over the country, but yeah, we are very happy. We are very good mood, all the Spaniards these days. But okay, let's go with the interview. I want to start talking about the early years. So first of all, do you remember the moment you discover modern hobby games?
Well, not really a moment, because it's a series of moments. Like, modern games have existed longer than people think. Yeah. So like when I was a child, I played Stratego and Scotland Yard. And those are I would consider them modern strategy games in a sense. They're not modern, but I played lots of strategy games. I heard about strategy games. I remember in the early 2000s, I heard about Carcassonne, and I thought that's a neat idea. And so when I lived in Korea at the time, South Korea, and I wanted to play some board games. So I looked, because I always liked board games. So I looked up games I knew, like Cosmic Encounter and Axis and Allies. And then I saw some of these new games, Puerto Rico and Catan. And I guess Catan wasn't that new at that point. And I thought, I'll try them all out. And then I never stopped.
So what were you doing professionally before board game media became your career, or what inspired you to start the Dice Tower? It was 2005?
Yeah, it's a little hazy as to when everything started. I was a teacher, so I started reviewing in 2002. That was my first reviews. And so 24 years ago, I guess next year I could say 25 years. That'd be exciting. Wow. And then at some point I started the podcast. 2005 sounds right. So I guess the podcast is now 20 some years old. And I did it because I heard a podcast and I thought, what a neat idea. I like to talk, so I should try this. So I started doing that. So I was a teacher for a long time. It was only 12 years ago that I started doing it full time.
Okay. And what were those first episodes look like? I mean, did you remember?
I do remember. So I said to my friend, I said, hey, Joe, you want to join me in a show? Because I always thought a show is better with more than one person. And he said, sure. And I knew with Joe, I was going to have to do all the work. So I was like, all right, listen, I'll make up a script. I said, I don't know what we can put in this show. I said, but we'll end with our top 10 games. I thought that would be a fun thing to do, top 10 games. And I liked the idea of the top 10 so much that the next couple shows, I was like, well, let's do a different top 10. And then that never stopped. And so that was kind of the basic cornerstone and always has been of the Dice Tower. The fact that we do top 10s, everything. Well, I mean, we have two basics. We have the reviews and top 10. So we do lots of other things, so many other things at this point in time. But those have always kind of remained the tenets. The show changed a lot at the beginning. I wasn't really sure what I was going to do with the show. I changed it dramatically in episode 50. I brought in lots of different contributors to the show. And it's kind of morphed and changed over time. And even though the podcast is still, there and existing 20-some years later, at some point, I think it was 2008 or in 2009, I started doing YouTube, and that's what changed everything because the YouTube has eclipsed the podcast by 100-fold.
So that was the point. The YouTube channel was the point when you realized that Dice Tower could become a full-time job, or when that's?
Well, it was years later. Like I said, it was about 12 years ago, it was about 2014 or so. And I was thinking, I wonder if I can make this my job. And I remember one day, I made $25 in one day. And I thought, is that enough? It's not. But at the time I thought, okay, maybe I can do this. I know what, I'll do this and I'll do a bunch of extra side jobs. I don't know. I talked to my wife and she was supportive, but nervous. I was nervous. So, I made the leap. And that first year was pretty scary, but we made it through.
Yeah. Okay. Many people see reviews, but they don't see the business behind them. What do you have to teach as an entrepreneur? Well,
that's weird because I went to college. When I first was in college, my first major, I was a double major of business and accounting.
Oh.
And I was like, you know what? I don't think I'm any good at running a business. I don't like the numbers part of this very much. I just don't really care for it. So I stopped. Even now, I don't really like that part of the business, although I have to do it. I don't know. It's hard to say what works because for me, I've been lucky, right? I'm not going to argue that. I've been lucky in a lot of the things. I was first, which helps. I have a strong personality, whether you like it or don't. I've been able to find good people to help me. That matters a lot. And I think, and this is a big one, I'm willing to spend money. So it matters that I spend money to buy a booth at a convention because you meet more people that way. Even from the beginning, I couldn't afford anything at all. But I remember my very first convention, Origins, I printed out business cards and I just walked around to random people and handed them cards and said, hey, listen to our show. Then the second year I bought magnets. Then I bought dice and handed dice out. And this sounds silly, but doing stuff like that, spending for advertising, spending to, I spent money to hire some voice people to make my early show better. I tried to put some money into it, and I put a lot of money into it now because I think you have to do that. You can't just hope good things happen. Sometimes you have to make them happen.
Mm-hmm. We will talk about your colleagues later, but how has your revenue model evolved over these years? Can you explain a little bit where the money comes from? How the get financed?
The biggest thing is our crowdfunding thing. I started that in the second year of the Dice Tower, and it was really successful. And it still is our biggest thing. It's it waxes and wanes over the years, but we get a lot of money from that and from helping, from people supporting the show. And then after that, our conventions, we run some conventions and that brings income in. And then there's smaller amounts. We have sponsors, we have YouTube income. YouTube always tells people you're not allowed to talk about the income. I think that's so they can pay you as little as possible and you don't complain about it. But we try to do as many little streams as possible because I also believe that having one stream of income is dangerous because if it gets cut off, then where does your money come from? And I'm also just thankful from year to year. Every year we run our crowdfunding campaign, and every year I'm like, I hope we fund. I hope it works. You know, after a while, people are like, it will work. Don't worry. Like, I still worry a little, you know, because I want to do well on it.
Mhm. Yeah, the Dice Tower has grown into a large team now. How has your role changed from the early years from now?
It's actually a pretty big change. People don't realize that for many content creators, they have one person to care about themselves, maybe two people, right? And that's not particularly difficult. You take care of yourself, you do things, you move around. I have like 12 different people that I have to think about, not to mention, you know, even more volunteers. This week I'm going to Gen Con and I have a team of 22 people,
Oh, wow.
which is a lot. Now, they're not all paid employees. Some of them are, some of them aren't, but it's still a lot of different people to keep track of. And so there's a lot of things I have to do. I have to work on finance. I have to make sure everything happens behind the scenes. I have to make schedules. I have to deal with interpersonal conflict, which can happen sometimes. I have to get along with everybody. There's a lot more managing that happens. And I don't particularly love that that's what my role has shifted into to some degrees. But on the other hand, I do like it because I like working with all these people.
Yeah, talking about controversies, how do you deal with this? Because sometimes they're internal, nobody needs to know, but sometimes, like for example, when Sam Healy leave the Tower or some reviews brings polemic, how you deal with this? How is yourself, or you talk with the team, or I don't know, what's your policy?
Well, there's a lot of stuff that happens behind the scenes, and you know, for whenever somebody leaves a company, you always wonder, did they leave on good terms or not? You don't know. And you know what? It's none of your business. And that's my opinion. You know, if someone leaves a company, I'm like, I wonder if they left on good terms or not. Maybe they did, maybe they didn't. Mm-hmm. And so if anyone has left the Dice Tower, you can wonder the same thing. But the fact of the matter is, I think that's an internal thing. You know, sometimes things become external. You mentioned Sam. Other times things become a bigger issue outside. But again, I still think the internal mechanisms of that are none of anyone's business. I'm here to talk about games. I'm here to talk about the people who play games. I'm here to talk about gaming companies. And that's it. I lay my life pretty bare for people. I talk about my family. I talk about my personal likes and dislikes. I'm very open and honest about that. But my employees and them, that's their privacy. And so I will rarely talk about that. I won't get into details about it because I don't think it's anyone's business. I think in our modern society, we put too much information out there. If I have a bad day at my job, I can go home and complain about it online. I think that's bad form. I don't think I should complain about my employees. I don't think they should complain about me online. If we have conflict, we should deal with that internally.
Makes sense. You mentioned before that at some point you hire more people. Was there ever a moment where you worried about adding more reviewers and that those personalities might dilute the Dice Tower brand? Because most of the people, Dice Tower is Tom Basel first, and then the others. With all respect, to
well, you know, and I know that's true to some degree, but I've worked hard at changing that. I think at this point, if I go to a convention, people know Z and Mike, and Chris. They know them very well because they're on the channel so much and they do so much for the Dice Tower. And Camilla and Wendy and Joey to a lesser degree, but I'm trying to build a team. I've never told my team to do reviews like me. I don't want them to be like me. Like I said, I'm a big believer in diverse voices. If they hate a game that I like or opposite, I want that to be spoken and to be said. I want us to get along, but professionally, I want us to have some sort of difference of opinions and voices. I mean, I'll still have my policies about the channel. The channel has to be family friendly. I don't want things to go too long. I don't want us to ramble. I want us to be honest when we talk about things. I want us to be, I want it to be fun, but I'm not looking necessarily for a particular voice, but I do gravitate towards certain types of things. I like humor. I like humor that's not scripted humor. I like humor that just happens. If you watch our top 10, some of the funniest moments just happen. And I like that a lot. And so I encourage that. I encourage a team built around me. And we've had different people come on and off. We have different contributors. on the channel. And some worked better than others, for sure. Some fit more to my voice than not, but I'm really happy with the team I have now.
Cool. That's great. How can you describe us? You moved recently. You have a new studio now. So
Yes.
can you explain us a day in the Dice Tower office? How does it work?
Well, first I wake up and I do an interview at 6 a.m.
We appreciate that.
No, but I mean, well, actually, I like to do things early in the morning. It all depends. So every day is different, but I'm usually at work around 7 a.m. That's or 7, maybe 7:30.
You live far from the office?
About 15 minutes,
okay.
Which that's not far at all. So I get to the office. I'm usually there very early. Mike beats me a lot because Mike is even earlier than me. But so I won't speak to everybody else, but I usually get in there, and as soon as I get in the office, I'm starting to do stuff. I mean, I do some office work when I first wake up anyway. From like 5:30 to 6:30, I'm usually doing emails and things like that in the morning. But then at work, as soon as I get there, I instantly start reviewing because it's the best time to do it. There's no one there, camera's going, so I'll jump in and do a lot of. I'll start recording videos, and then after I'm done recording videos, I move on to whatever's next, which there's the amount of time in my day that is responding to email sometimes frustrates me. There's so much email and things to go through. I'm planning schedules. We have live shows. So our live shows, we have to get ready and prepare and do them. So every day is different. So today is Tuesday. Normally on Tuesday morning, almost every Tuesday morning, we have a live game. Now we don't have one today because next week is Gen Con. So we're cutting ourselves some slack. But I really believe I like our channel to be kind of like a TV station. So you're like, ooh, it's 10 o'clock Tuesday morning. Dice Tower is going to do something. Oh, it's 2 o'clock on Thursday afternoon. Top 10 time for the Dice Tower or something like that. I like that. And that's good, but it does make it a lot more work for us because we have to have everything scheduled. I have a big schedule every week. At the end of a week or at the very beginning of a week, I write out by hand everything I need to do that week and I check it off. And you'd be surprised at how much I get done on Monday. I don't know what it is. Like yesterday I got a lot done, but this week I'm working hard because I'm trying to finish everything for the week today. But that's because the next few days then I have to work on Gen Con. We're driving up to Gen Con on Sunday, and there's a lot of planning. There's a lot of things that are going into getting that ready.
I will meet you at Gen Con next week.
I'll be there.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about the industry. You have watched the hobby grow for over 2 decades. What do you think has changed the most?
There's a lot of changes to the industry, for sure. The industry has grown. I came in right when the industry had hit a few cultural milestones. Number one, the first cultural milestone, which happened when I was born, or around when I was born, is Dungeons and Dragons. Dungeons and Dragons is a big milestone, whether you like it or don't like it. It happens. It happened. It brought about Gen Con for sure and other conventions, and it brought people together. But it kind of, there's a lot of other changes that went across the years. But then the next couple changes happened in the middle of the 90s, where we had both simultaneously Settlers of Catan, which kind of changed the landscape of gaming. Board gaming was already pretty big in Germany, but that kind of brought it to many other places in the world. It was so popular. And that combined with the rise of the internet. The internet came around that time. And so now I could go online and find other nerds who liked board games. And because of that, in the late 90s, Board Game Geek started, which let people find each other, and other groups. There were all kinds of different groups and things that people were able to do. The next big jumps were twofold. One was YouTube itself. YouTube has pushed board gaming a lot. And Kickstarter. Kickstarter has changed the hobby tremendously. Kickstarter started as a way for small publishers to get their games out there. And now it's basically the delivery system for at least half the games, it seems, that are published. And so whether you like Kickstarter or hate Kickstarter, it's changed the hobby. We've moved into big, giant games. Games have gotten tremendously huge. to board gaming is often a very luxury style hobby. It's a hobby where you can go on a board game cruise. You can buy a $600 board game. You can buy all kinds of cool stuff, but it's also accessible hobby because you can also go to a big box store and buy great little card games. So it's both at the same time. I can't tell you about the future. People always ask. I have no idea. If I knew the future, I'd be a super rich man. I think board gaming will continue to grow, if only because gaming is becoming more popular with the general public. But I don't know if that's good for everyone, because I think, honestly, that the board game hobby is too crowded. I think there's too many publishers. There's too many designers. There's too many of everything. And I don't know that that's necessarily a bad thing. I'm not telling, but I think the market's going to correct. Not all these publishers. We live in an era now where games have many, there's not, instead of there being 20 games that, hundreds of thousands of people play, now we have thousands of games that thousands of people play. So a lot of games just get lost in the big flood of games.
Mm-hmm. Do you miss anything from the early days of the hobby?
Well, I miss being able to play all the games. It used to be I could play every popular game that came out in a year. Now I just can't do that. I mean, every year people say, why didn't you play this? I'm like, I don't know what to tell you. I played hundreds of games every year. In fact, at some point, probably next year, I'll play my 10,000th game. Which is a lot of games. And yet on Board Game Geek, there's like 80,000
every year.
I haven't even played 1/8 of the games, and I'll never catch up. And so you have to just make peace with that. Like, you can't play everything. And I said it to people listening to or watching the show. You can't play everything. So don't worry about it. Just play and have a good time.
Let's talk about influence a little bit. Personally, I believe that very few content creators move the needle in terms of buying decisions. No, I think Dice Tower does. Do you know that? Do you acknowledge that your reviews were influencing buying decisions, and how do you feel about that?
I got to be careful. I never want to be egotistical, but I'm also not going to pretend to be stupid. I'm sure that we moved the needle on games. When there's so many games to review, it's harder to move the needle sometimes, because I'll say, hey, this week there was 6 good games that came out. And you're like, well, I can't buy 6. So which one should I buy? I think that the way that we move games the most, so we'll never come to the heights of like Tabletop. When Will Wheaton did Tabletop, that sold games. And I think the fewer videos you do, the more you'll sell a single game. So if your channel just does, 1 video a month, you'll push that game more than others, possibly. I think where we move the needle the most is in our top 10s, or, especially top 10s of the year, right? If I say this is the best game of the year, you're like, well, thank you. You reviewed 600 games this year, but you're saying this one's the best. And I think that's helpful. Or sometimes when we do a review and everybody is just absolutely glowing about it, I think that helps too. But that just happens.
Yeah. Did that realization change how you approach reviews?
No, I mean, I don't really care. I don't think that should affect us at all. I'm not trying to sell games. I'm trying to tell you if I like the game or not. So I don't want to be thinking about that realization, because if I do, I might say a game's better than it really is. I'm not here to try to sell games. I mean, sometimes obviously we do advertising and stuff. We hope those games do well, but I won't lie. And so when you see us say a game is good, you're like, oh, but that company sponsors you. Yeah, but that company also makes some terrible games. And I'll tell you if I hate them. So I'm not afraid to do that. I think that helps our fans, hopefully. I got to be careful, because anytime I say we're very honest, it makes it sound like everyone else is not honest. I don't mean that at all. Mm-hmm. I don't ever want to intuit that other content creators are dishonest. I'm only saying that I can only speak for myself. And I know that the temptations can be there to pull punches, to be nice to people. And it's not even money related. It's often just personal related. I will say a game's terrible that I'm going to go meet that person next week.
Yeah. How do you balance that?
Oh, it's tricky, right? It's really tricky. It's very embarrassing sometimes, to talk to these people and like, yeah, I like you and I hate your work. Um, but we do it enough, and usually for most people, while I might hate something they've done, possibly, I've liked other things they've done. So that's fine. But you just have to get over that. I'm not going to say a game's bad just to be, ooh, we're edgy. I don't want to be contrarian. We just tell you what we think about games.
Mhm.
And I think we do okay because we get both complaints. People say you're too positive. And then people also say you're always criticizing games. So I guess if I get both of them, we're fine. If I had to review every game in the world, let's say I went to Walmart and had to play every game that they had and review it, then we would sound like a very negative channel. There'd be so many negative reviews. We get to pick which games we do. So that's why we tilt obviously more positive. I also like to play games. It's fun. But at the same time, if I play a game and I'm really disappointed by it, we'll tell people.
Mhm. Have publishers ever tried to pressure you regarding reviews in a way or other, directly or
Oh,
indirectly?
sure. It doesn't happen a lot. And it happens, I tell you, it happens more from designers, not publishers. Designer says, usually they tell me I played it wrong, and they'll meet me at a convention and they'll teach me the correct way to play it. I get that a lot. But very infrequently. And usually it's more like you got our game wrong, man. It's kind of a friendly thing to some degree. But there are publishers who don't like us. There's publishers who stop sending us review copies, who don't want to work with us. But that's very few. Most publishers are very professional and very good to work with.
What does your review process look like today? Has your methodology has changed over the years, or it keeps?
No, not really. Whenever I review a game, the first thing I do is I record the overview of it. That's always the first thing I do. I say, here's how to play the game. And then by doing that, I organize my thoughts in my head. I don't know how else to explain it. I sit and I think, this is what I'm going to talk about. Everyone's different. Like Z and Joey, I know they write notes out. They write copious notes. That's what they want to talk about. For me, I do the notes, but I do it all in my head. And then I just talk about it. Now, when we do multi-people reviews, which are my favorite, we're bouncing off each other. Someone will say something and someone else will respond to that and talk about it. Someone else will say something and we'll go back and forth. But I always do the overview first so that it's fresh in my head. This is how the game works.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I prefer when you all together. It's more fun. And how many plays do you generally require before reviewing a game?
Enough.
Okay.
Always my answer, because whatever number I would say is never enough for some people.
Yeah.
And so I play the game enough.
Okay. For your point of view, what makes a great reviewer? Because we've seen a lot of content creators, but
I don't know. A great reviewer is tricky, right? Because am I going to describe myself? I don't mean to.
But you have the experience.
When I listen and watch reviewers, I want a reviewer who is going to tell me what they think about it, but I also want to be a little bit entertained by it. So let me give an example. For me, one of the reviewers that I always read back in the day was Roger Ebert from the Chicago Sun-Times. He did movie reviews.
I know that guy.
Right, and so he's very famous because he and Gene Siskel invented the 2 thumbs up thing. They did that for a long time. So that was I aspire to be like him, because you know what? When I read his movie reviews, he's wrong all the time. He drove me nuts. But when I read his review, I knew what the movie was about, and I could tell from him talking about it if I would like it or not. And that's what I am. I don't think a reviewer's job is to convince you that the game is good or bad. They just need to tell you, here's this game, I loved it, or here's this game, I hated it. And if I talk about a game and I explain it and I say, I hated it because of this, and people go, but that sounds wonderful. Great, I've done my job. My goal isn't to stop people from playing a game. Well, sometimes. There are a few games, very few games that I think nobody on earth should play. But for the most part, my goal is just to tell you what I think about it. And I can sit there and say, I hate it, I hate it, I hate it. But then if you'd like it, that's wonderful. So I think that's what the reviewer's job is. I'm not there to convince you that the game is bad or to convince you about any other agenda. I'm there just to tell you my thoughts on the game, and then go enjoy it or not. It doesn't matter to me. If it's my favorite game and you come up to me and say, I hated it, okay, but I gave you that information, and we're okay.
Okay. Let's talk about a little bit about your personal taste. I guess that your taste has been changed over time. Which genres do you enjoy more now than 20 years ago?
Which genres do I enjoy more now?
Yeah, what type of game do you
I don't know. Let me think here. I think I like the big engine efficiency games more than I used to. Maybe.
But lighter, no? Not super heavy games, no? My perception.
Well, I mean, maybe. I don't know that that's ever changed. I have always liked lighter games to some degree. I think the biggest change for me is I don't like cooperative games as much as I used to.
Uh-huh.
I like cooperative games. That's fine, but I kind of want to do my own thing in a game. I want to do my own thing rather than work together with everybody else. I'm selfish, I guess. And I think my tastes have changed, but it's hard to quantify that. It's hard to quantify that. I mean, I still look at it. I'll play a big, grandiose game and go, ooh, I love this game. It's so crunchy. I still remember playing Arc Nova and going, this was an amazing experience. But then I played Hot Streak and played it 50 times in a row because I was so amused by the game. Everything is different. Everything, tonight is my game night. I'm excited about it. I'm going to start with a bigger game, and then I'm going to play some smaller games. And I'm going to play a good game. I can feel it. And I'm going to play a bad game. That's probably going to happen. But I have fun both ways.
You feel that you keep the excitement after those years. How do you avoid the burnt out of board gaming?
Well, I think part of it is because I like playing games so much. It doesn't matter to me. Even if I quit reviewing, I'd still play board games because they're fun. I don't burn out because I do other things. Like last night when I was done with work, I came home. I ate dinner with my family. I went swimming because we can swim every day here. Then I sat, my family was building a puzzle and I was sorting out cards and we just spent time talking to each other. And that just keeps me sane. Then tonight I'll play games all night because it's game night here, but it doesn't matter to me.
Is there any moment where you consider quitting?
Well, I don't know that I've ever seriously considered quitting. There are moments where I'm pretty down. And I'll tell you, 99% of those is because of reactions and way people act on the internet. Yeah. The internet is a cruel, cruel place. People say really mean, nasty things. If you think you can handle anything, reading what people say about you on the internet is a really tough gig. Because people are not kind or nice at all, and you can really wallow in that. So I do my best to stay out of it. If someone writes a thread, why Tom Vassel's an idiot. Okay, it's gonna happen. But I stop myself from that by a couple things. One, my life is really wonderful. I have a wonderful family. I have a good friends. And that's one of the benefits of not working alone. We as a staff, we work together, we bond together. So when people call me an idiot, my staff will be like, they don't know what they're talking about. I'll go, you're right. And I say the same thing to them.
Cool. Let's talk about a little bit about, we have 10 more minutes. Let's talk about the team. What qualities do you look for your contributors?
That's easy. I look for people who work hard and who get along with other people. That's it. Everything else can be taught and trained. You can learn how to review games. You can learn how to edit videos. You can learn all this stuff, but to work hard, there's a lot of people who just don't work hard. And then getting all other people is incredibly important. And I mean getting along both in person and online. I think there's too much negativity, like I said, on the internet, and I will not allow that coming from the Dice Tower.
What are you most proud of the team you have built?
I'm just proud that they do such a great job and that they're known in their own right. I think I've built a crowd of really unique, diverse voices that they all, people come up to me, they're like, "Hi, Tom, I like your show, but I really like Mike, or I really like Camilla." Great. I'm glad that you like other people better than me. That's my goal. My goal is hopefully that when I die, the Dice Tower can continue.
Well, it's true that we all have a favorite. I won't tell you who's mine.
But no kidding. That doesn't bother me. I'm glad. I don't care who your favorite is. Are they on the Dice Tower? Then I win.
Yes, that's it. Yeah, it's the same. I have a colleague who runs this podcast with me that couldn't attend today, and I know it's the favorite for most of the people. I don't care. It's fine. Unless it's true. But well, you're like a kind of a music band. After those years, what is the secret to keep the complicity among all members?
Hard work. People aren't going to get along. Everyone's going to argue at some point. I think my wife and I have been married now for 27 years. We have argued a couple times a day. No, I mean, but well, you have to work through that, right? And it's the same way with relationships at work and working with other people. You have to work through it. Sometimes you're not going to agree. Sometimes things are not as good as they are at other times. But when they are good, it's fantastic. Just, in the office, sometimes it'll be a moment where I walk and everybody's laughing and arguing about something stupid, some movie or whatever. And I'm just like, yeah, it's kind of like family. But if it is like family argues too. So that happens.
Okay. If someone wanted to start a game media channel today, what would be your advice?
It's tough. But my advice to that is, first of all, do it for fun. If you're not enjoying it, then you're not going to continue, But if you decide that you're going to do it past the point of fun, it's hard to explain, but I wrote reviews first because I just enjoyed doing it. And I record videos because it's fun for me. I like doing content. But you know what? I don't like doing it every day. There are days I go to work and I'm like, I don't feel like working today. But you know what? I do it anyway. I push past that point. But that's because I'm looking at it as more than just a hobby. You have to be consistent and you have to have fun doing it. If you don't have fun doing it, don't do it. Don't get into it for the money. That's insane. There's almost no money. Don't do it for the money. But also, and this is a big one, be yourself. Find your own voice. Most people, they try to copy other people. I've seen people try to copy our top 10 list. They're like, hey, Tom, it's 3 people for a top 10 list. That's the way to do it. No, that's the way we do it. It can be completely different for you. If you look at Shut Up and Sit Down, for example, they have their own style. It's so different than my style, but that's their style. And that's why people remember them, because they have their own style. There are various, there's a million people making videos out there, but a lot of them are very forgettable because they copy other people. Be your own style, be your own voice. And I think that will, a good example is Paula Deming. She found her own voice making her videos. And because of that, people know who she is. And I think that's it. And you know what? If you don't like doing it, go do something else. It's not a big deal. Life, there's so many fun things to do in life. You don't have to be a content creator.
That's true. Okay, let's go for fun and short questions. What's the most overrated game you have ever played?
Well, technically it's Monopoly, right? Because Monopoly, the world thinks very highly of Monopoly, sort of. But that's a cheap answer. I'll say Brass.
I agree with you.
That's just me. I know you guys love Brass, but
no, not me. I always get criticized because I'm very vocal against Brass as well. Okay, so let's go to the other side. What's the most underrated game you have ever played?
Oh, there's so many of those. I wouldn't even know where to start. There's so many games that more people should play. How about the most underrated game this year so far is probably Campania. If you haven't played Campania, it's an amazing area control game, and I highly recommend it.
Okay. What's the biggest review you have ever gotten wrong? I remember your most funny video. I think it was Vasco da Gama at the roof.
Well, I didn't get it. I actually didn't get Vasco da Gama wrong, in my opinion. I just thought it would be funny to make an apology video. I've gotten games wrong before, and I've changed my mind on games. I think the biggest one is St. Petersburg for me. When St. Petersburg first came out, not only did I give it a 6, which was not a very high review, I wrote a review. I tried something new. This was 20 years ago, where somebody would argue. We would write a review back and forth. He would write a paragraph, then I'd write a paragraph, and we'd argue back and forth about a game. And so I argued that St. Petersburg was not that good. It is now in my top 30 games. So I've really changed my mind on that one.
Mm-hmm. Which game designer deserves more recognition?
Anybody from Italy, probably. And because there's so many different designers from Italy, and we tend to kind of put them together in a group. You're like, oh, it's the Italian designers. Well, no, they need to stand out. But you know what? I could say that about a lot of countries. So many designers from Brazil get lumped together. So many designers from Korea get lumped together. There's a lot of fantastic designers. I don't know if there's anyone. I think we have like the people everyone knows. Everyone knows Reiner Knizia, and everybody knows Wolfgang Kramer or Eric Lang and these people, but not everyone knows most designers. So I'd say most of them need more recognition.
Mm-hmm. So would you ever design a second game for listeners that don't know? You design nothing personal,
You mean a third game? I also designed a game called Vicious Fishes, but don't worry if you've never heard of it. Neither has anyone else. You know what? I think about it every once in a while. Every once in a while, I'll be like, I should design a game, and I'll start working out in my head, and then I'm like, nah, it's boring. I'd rather just play other people's games. I'm not saying I never will design another game. It's possible. I just don't have that desire. I have so much fun playing other people's games.
Fair enough. You are going to Gen Con next week. What's your favorite convention memory? Do you have an anecdote you want to share with us?
My favorite convention, I remember the first time I was at Origins, this was years ago, and I was talking at a booth to the person running the booth, and someone turned around and said, I recognize that voice. I was like, ooh, somebody knows my voice. So that I remember that very distinctly. I don't have a good voice, but I have a distinctive voice, I guess. So that's something that I've always remembered. And then there's so many. I could talk about this for hours. I remember someone come up to me and going, I really like your show, but also you were my teacher when I was in kindergarten. And I was like, oh, what a good, that's a neat thing to see. There's a lot of people come up and talk to me. That's my favorite part about conventions. Gen Con next week is crazy. It's long, it's busy. It and Essen are the two busiest conventions of the year. I'm going to go into them tired, and I'm going to come out tired. But in the meantime, during that convention, I'm going to get to talk to so many people, and that just makes me happy.
Cool. 3 more questions before we finish. What can publishers do better to support reviewers and media outlets?
I got to be careful on this one. I have a very good relationship with publishers, but I will say this, publishers, you need to tell people about your games. Send them out to media people, but don't send them to the people who all have the same audience. Send them out to different ones, but also promote your games. There's so many publishers who just, they barely talk about their games. Like, you need to promote your game, and you need to promote it after the Kickstarter's over or after the Game Found project's over. You need to keep promoting it then. And communication, I guess, but I got to be careful. Again, I've had really good relationships with publishers, so for the most part.
Mm-hmm. Let's merge the last 2 questions into one. What do you hope your contribution to the hobby will be? Or what achievement are you most proud of?
I'm most proud of that I found a lot of other people and brought them into the hobby, even if they're not with the Dice Tower anymore. So like when you go see Game Boy Geek or there's other channels out there where they got their start on the Dice Tower, and then the people on the Dice Tower. I'm glad that I was able to bring those people that if I disappear today and people like, oh man, Z Garcia is the greatest game reviewer of all time. I found him, sort of. Again, I'm not trying to take credit for other people's work at all, but I'm really proud of that. I'm proud that we run really good game conventions ourselves, the Dice Tower conventions. And hopefully I've introduced hobby to a lot of people, I hope.
Okay, Tom, thank you very much for being here at Que Rico el Mambo. It was a pleasure to chat a little bit with you. And yeah, you're always welcome. And see you next week at Gen Con.
Thank you very much.
Okay, have a lovely day. Ciao, ciao.
Thank you. I'll see you at Gen Con. Come by the booth and say hi.
Ciao. Thank you very much.